Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Lydia Corum, and today's episode, How One Nurse with a Niche in Wound Care Developed a Thriving LNC Business. And just a note that this episode does contain some barking from a dog that we love, so just wanted to let you know. Enjoy. How did you get there?
Because I see when I went for my paralegal class, I started looking up medical malpractice, and I couldn't believe how many cases were out there, and some of them how many didn't get through. A lot of people, especially if they got amputated, the cases didn't win. And I don't know what's going on. And one of the doctors that I made friends with, he said that it is a really bad thing is seeing how many people were getting amputated. And I saw a lot of it. But also I saw that nurses don't know how to assess a wound.
Nurses, are you burnt out, frustrated, looking for something new? Are you looking for more? Nurses, are you ready to feel the sun? You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Your nursing license is your key to freedom. Join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenurssharkacademy.biz today. Hi, and welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Lydia Corum, and Lydia is out of Oakland, California. And all right. And Lydia is a legal nurse consultant with a specialty in wound care. She's a seasoned registered nurse. She's done wound care merit reviews, and she has several years of clinical experience. I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about your background. Welcome to the show, Lydia.
Yes, thank you, Tina, and thank you for welcome. Thank you for coming here. I've been doing wound care for over 20 years. I started off in home care, and then I went to a wound clinic, and that's where I really found out how wonderful it was. And I just decided that that's where I wanted to work at it, because I loved it. Was the one time I could see people get healed. And it's wonderful and beautiful. And I got a passion to see people that did heal, and it was wonderful. So that's where I stayed.
Awesome.
I started off in Indiana, and now I'm in California.
In California. Well, you know what? It's probably good that you're in California right now, because it's awfully cold here in Indiana. It's now 7 degrees. But better than it was -1 yesterday morning. But I will say, I'd like to start off by finding out first, what made you decide to become a nurse in the first place? How did you get into nursing?
When I was lucky to have a daughter, but her esophagus was not connected. So when I worked with her, and the doctor said, you know what? You got a lot of talent as far as nursing. So that's when I decided that's where I wanted to be.
Okay. And where did you go to school?
I went to Bethel College in Mishawaka, Indiana.
Okay. All right.
And then I got my master's at my master's degree. I finished in 2013 at Kaiser.
Okay.
Okay, he's sitting by me now.
Okay. All right. We love puppies here. Okay. So you start out in Mishawaka, then you got your master's degree. What was your master's degree in?
My master's was in Florida, but I did it online.
What was it? I mean, what was your specialty?
Just a master's. I was thinking about being a nurse practitioner, but then I decided that I got tired of doing any education. So I decided that I just stay with my master's degree and not go a nurse practitioner. But I wanted to stay as a wound care nurse.
Yes. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You were saying as a wound care nurse.
Yes, I decided to stay as a wound care nurse. And when I entered in California,
Mm-hmm.
I started as a travel nurse. It
Okay.
was quite interesting. I got to see California and visiting a lot of hospitals, so I learned a lot.
So is there a lot of differences in how, because I know California has a lot of unions and things like that. Is it different in practicing, let's say, in Indiana versus California? Because I think a lot of nurses are interested in traveling. So knowing some of those differences might be helpful.
Yes, I learned a lot when I was traveling from one hospital to another. The one thing I learned was that the nurses are mostly they're in labor, and this is the only state where they have a limitate a number of patients, and that was just new to me. But as far as being a wound care nurse, you can't join a union, and there's no limitation on that. So unless you're working in home care, they do have a limit there. But as far as when you work in the hospital, the wound care nurse, it doesn't have any kind of limitation. So that was the one thing I learned. Also, that there's a limit as far as being a team. Very few of the hospitals have wound care teams.
Oh, okay. So then you came at a good time, right? As a wound care nurse.
Um, I got to work with some great doctors, especially at Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for 30 years in wound care, and I learned so much from him. And he said he learned a lot from me too.
So how now knowing that you had a love for wound care, and that's a specialty that not a lot of nurses It's one of those things. It's kind of like psychiatry. Either you love it or you don't, right? And so some nurses
Right.
can't stand wounds at all. I was the nurse that's like, I didn't mind a wound. I don't like sputum, but I didn't mind a wound. Um, but so as you went through your career, what made you decide to go into legal nurse consulting? How did you get there?
Because I see when I went for my paralegal class, I started looking up medical malpractice, and I couldn't believe how many cases were out there, and some of them how many didn't get through. A lot of people, especially if they got amputated, the cases didn't win. And I'm going, I don't know what's going on. And one of the doctors that I made friends with, he said that it is a really bad thing is seeing how many people were getting amputated. And I saw a lot of it. But also, I saw that nurses don't know how to assess a wound. And even when I tried to teach them, sometimes they listened and sometimes they didn't listen. And especially if they were doing an assessment on the patient that could create a wound.
Yes.
They don't understand the Braden scale. Any other time he's quiet.
It must be that time of the year. There's a squirrel out there getting his attention. So I would say that, because I noticed as I do a lot of nursing home litigation cases, and you're right, they don't understand the Braden scale. And the other thing is that you get a nurse that you can see from day to day, depending on who's doing the measurements, that the measurements can be completely different. And so it makes you wonder, are you looking at the same wound? Because their measurements, I mean, a few inches or centimeters off, that's different, but vastly different. And then they stage it differently. So one says, this is a stage 3. Don't know, this is and I'm like, is that the same wound? So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, staging is very difficult. And I even, since I've been a legal nurse consultant, I wrote a story and put it in and the nurses didn't understand about a deep tissue injury. I couldn't believe it. They what is it? They think, they don't understand that it's really deep. And
Yes.
and they never did understand. I mean, I showed them what a deep tissue injury, and they think it's only purple, and it's not. It can be maroon too.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't understand that there's damage clear down, and they don't understand that the muscle, once the muscle is damaged, it never heals. And I said, well, what about if somebody has a heart attack? I said, can you find it? Because once muscle is damaged, it doesn't heal.
Right.
So it's hard for them to understand that, wounds don't is when it's a stage 3 or stage 4, they don't understand that it heals.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All it does is closed, because there's still a lot of work in the body. And they also don't know that a wet and dry dressing doesn't do it cold. It causes abnormal healing. And I've seen an abnormal healing in a lady that had an incision, and she had a colostomy.
Mm-hmm.
And the colostomy was right on the edge of the incision, and the incision was deep because it never healed correctly.
Mm.
And it was really hard to do her to keep the colostomy they couldn't keep it on there. If we kept it on there for one day, we celebrated. Otherwise, it was just a mess.
And that's
And
got to be very difficult.
Yeah, and that's what can happen. I mean, if you saw so many patients that had Dakins or
Mm-hmm.
wet to dry, their wounds don't heal right correctly. And people don't understand that. So
So,
those are a few things.
so what was your? Can you tell us? And you don't have to give us specifics about the individual or anything, but can you tell us about an interesting case that you worked as a legal nurse consultant?
Usually my necrotizing fasciitis. I saw a young man come in, and I don't know if you remember the story, but this young man came in. He had the flu, but it just never went away.
Hmm.
And he had an irritable bowel
Ah.
problem after the flu. And then what happened is it created a hole. There was a fistula that went to his bladder, from the colon to the bladder, but also it caused necrotizing fascia across his bottom and down halfway down his leg. When I walked in the hospital, I was told I need to do a dressing because he came into the ER, and I opened up the dressing and it started bubbling at me.
Oh my.
And I knew exactly what was happening. So I had to get on the phone and call the surgeon and say, you need to take him in tonight, or to save his leg. Anyhow, the surgeon learned who I was very quickly. We became really good. We became good friends afterward. But he took him in. He did the surgery. He saved his leg. And I was so happy. And then when I met him in the patient's room, I said he was starting to do a wet to dry dressing. And I said, let me do a wound vac. He said, you can't do that. I said, you want to bet? And he was totally surprised because I did the wound vac, and this guy ended up being able to walk out.
That's awesome. You know what? I have seen some crazy configurations with wound vacs before. I've
Yep.
seen that sponge like all go around like a snake.
Yeah, you better believe it.
I gave kudos to that nurse. I was like, I don't think I would have been able to get that on there. I was fascinated. It took this particular patient we had. It took them about an hour and a half to get that wound vac set up. That's how complicated it was, because the person had, I forget what it was, but it was one of those autoimmune things where they kind of like eat up their own skin or whatever. So it was like a tunnel, like a snake tunnel. It was just everywhere. And I'm like, how are you going to get that covered? She said, we will. She was good. So I applaud you, wound nurses that can do things like that, because as an NP, yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to do all the fun stuff, nor did I want to. I just, when it comes to stuff like that and it's that far advanced, I refer to wound care, because I am like, hey, you guys know this better than I would. And that's why I like to talk to different experts. And so when you talk to the attorneys and you help the attorneys, how do you help them with their cases and understanding about what's going on with those wounds?
The main thing I would tell the lawyers is really important, because if you don't, your client is very important to you, because if we can settle it out court, then think what the client's going to say to you. Mm-hmm. Just think how grateful they would be. I mean, if you think about any kind of anybody, like a patient that was discharged with a DTI, with a deep tissue injury, and nobody saw it, then think how that patient is going to be happy with you. So that if I work with you, my idea is I'm BIPOC. I don't care if you're on one side or the other side. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to make sure that you're not going to get in trouble, so that we can make sure that patient won't have to go to court. It's too expensive. Mm-hmm. It's too expensive. Your doctors are charge anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 per hour.
Yeah.
That's a horrible amount to come right out of the settlement. So if we can keep it out of the court. So that's the main thing I want. The main thing I want to do is to keep it out of the court. Okay. Because that costs the client a lot of money.
And the attorney, right? Because they have to put, especially if you're a plaintiff, you have to put all that money out front, right?
Right. I mean, there's, when the lawyer says that the cost, they'll get 20% or 35%. But when you hire a specialist, that comes right out of the money.
Right. Yes.
It's not included with the percentage.
In the percentage. Exactly. So tell me, so you've been in your business, you've been doing this as a legal nurse consultant. If you had some advice that you would give to someone who's interested either in legal nurse consulting or becoming an entrepreneur as a nurse, what piece of advice would you give them?
The one thing I would say is, are you in it for the money, or are you in it for the client? That there's a big difference. I mean, you have to think what I learned during Christmas, and when you see a Christmas carol, you have to think, what did they say? Who's more important, money or humanity? And I think as a nurse, that's what I believed anyway, too. I want to earn some money, but I also want to help the humanity. And as you get older, you think more and more about that, because you want to make a difference and even a small difference. And that's why I tell my grandkids all the time. I tell them, whatever you decide to do, just make a small difference in the world.
That is sound advice. Whatever you decide to do, make a small difference in the world. And that's what we're called to do as nurses, is to make people better. We're in the art of healing. And healing isn't just the absence of disease, but we look at the whole person. I appreciate your time. Do you have any final comments for us? Oh, before we go, I forgot. See, my mind was thinking ahead. I did see that you wrote your book. Now, what is the name of your book?
Oh, my book. Yeah. It's Beyond the Surface.
Okay.
It's wound care. It's my experience and what I've learned, what the standard of care. And I used a lot of information that I had gained because I've read and went to many conferences. So it's idea of what is the standard of care and what isn't. So it's a lot of information, but I also have a workbook with it so you can test yourself. And there's also a lot of addendums. So it's really a lot of information in there.
Well, awesome. I saw that you are allowing our listeners, so the first 100 listeners that contact you by email, and I'll go ahead and let you give the email out in a moment, that you're going to allow them to get a copy of your book and your workbook for $20 for both of them. So that's very generous of you, and I thank you for that.
Yes, that's just I can only do it for about 500 books. So if you want that special, but also Amazon has, if you belong to the Kindle, then you can get it for one click.
Okay. All right. So what email address do you want our listeners to send their request to you?
Lydia Legal Nurse @gmail.com.
Okay, so that's Lydia Legal Nurse @gmail.com. That will be in our show notes, as well as her social media handle, so you can reach out to her. If you're interested in, if you're an attorney, you happen to be listening, and you're interested in getting her as an expert legal nurse consultant to help you with a wound care case, then that information will be available to you as well. And so I look forward to spending more time and learning more about you in the future. And so that's going to wrap up our show for today. So again, if you have any further comments for our listeners before we go.
Oh, Tina, thank you for your time. Also, I wanted to say I'm on LinkedIn and Alignable.
All right.
So I'm on both I'm very active on both of those.
Yes, we will include those links into our show notes, as well as your bio and all the information that we have about Lydia. I thank you for your time. This has been great. You're listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscription and hit the notification bell to remind you of when our episodes are coming out. If you're listening to us through Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, please leave us a comment. We appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up, a like on whatever platform that you're on. We so enjoy being able to spend this time with you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
I sure will.
Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our free webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Join us at the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the NurseSharkAcademy.biz.